Okay, so with the Assad regime collapsing so suddenly, Syria has been thrown into total uncertainty. The old map of who runs what is gone, and a new, really complicated scramble for power is happening right now. So who's really in charge? Let's try and make sense of this new landscape.
That one moment, it brought a 5-decade family dynasty to a stunningly abrupt end. Assad leaving wasn't just some political shift. It was like the entire power structure of the country just vanished overnight, leaving this massive, gaping vacuum.
And this is the backdrop for everything we're about to talk about. A nation just covered in the scars of a devastating, years-long war. The stakes for who fills this power vacuum, well, they couldn't be higher. Not just for the people of Syria, but for the entire region.
So how on earth did it all fall apart so fast? And more importantly, what happened in the chaotic days that followed?
In the days right after Assad fled, all these battle lines that had been frozen for years just melted away. Rebel groups advanced with incredible speed, and the security forces in Damascus, once this terrifying force, were just paralyzed. This wasn't just a leadership change, it was the starting gun for a fierce race between completely different ideas of what Syria should be.
So, out of all that chaos, one group made a very decisive move, right for the center. If you want to understand the new Syria, you absolutely have to understand Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS.
This group, led by Ahmed al-Sharaa, has quickly become the main force in the new transitional government. They're the ones in Damascus, running the ministries, basically setting the agenda for the country. But who are they? And where did they even come from?
And this timeline, wow, it tells an incredible story. HTS actually started out as Jabhat al-Nusra. And yeah, you heard that right, that was Syria's official al-Qaeda branch. But over the past decade, they've systematically tried to shed that global jihadist identity, rebranding and shifting their focus to a purely Syrian political project. It's a really shocking, and for many, a very controversial evolution. And this comparison really puts it in black and white, doesn't it? They've gone from this transnational insurgent ideology to a much more pragmatic national one. They're focused on building a state, on governance, and they're even trying to talk to the international community. This is a world away from the al-Qaeda of 2012.
Back when they just controlled Idlib, HTS kind of perfected their own unique way of running things. It's this weird hybrid system. Yeah, it's coercive for sure, but it's also surprisingly pragmatic. They keep tight control over the big stuff like the economy and security, but they let technocrats handle the day-to-day administration. And it's this model they're now trying to roll out across the whole country.
Okay, so HTS is in Damascus, but they don't control all of Syria, not even close. There are other major players out there with their own territory, their own armies, and their own visions for the future, which makes the picture way more complicated.
First up, in the northeast, you've got the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF. This is a coalition of different groups. It's mainly led by Kurds, but has Arab and Christian fighters too. And the crucial thing to remember here is that these are the folks who partnered with the United States to fight ISIS. That means they are very capable and very well equipped.
And the amount of territory they hold is huge. We're talking about a region with 4.6 million people. And get this, it also has a lot of Syria's oil and its best farmland. That gives them some serious bargaining chips in any talks about the country's future.
Then you head south, and it's a completely different story, especially in the province of Sueda. The Druze and other communities there have always been pretty independent. They've kind of built their own thing, a really local, pluralistic way of governing themselves. They're not so much interested in what's happening in Damascus. They're focused on their own communities.
So why does this small region matter so much on the big stage? Well, it's all about location, location, location. They're right up against Jordan and near the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. That means their stability is a huge deal for their neighbors, which gives these local groups a lot of geopolitical weight.
All right, so we've talked about the groups trying to build something. But then you've got the other side of the coin, the spoilers. These are the actors whose main goal is just to burn it all down before it can even get started.
And what's wild is that you have two groups that couldn't be more different, but they're using the same playbook. On one side, you have what's left of the Islamic State. On the other, you have scattered militias who are still loyal to Assad. Ideologies are worlds apart, but their goal is exactly the same. Use violence, create chaos, and make sure any new government fails.
The Islamic State's so-called caliphate is gone, but the group is definitely not. It's basically morphed into a classic insurgency. They've gone underground, they pop up, hit a target like a car bomb or attack a minority community, cause fear and chaos, and then melt away again. It's all about proving the new guys in charge can't keep people safe.
Meanwhile, over in the coastal areas, you have this loose network of former regime guys and local militias. They're not an organized army. Think of them more as a scattered collection of angry, vengeful groups. Their whole game is to use ambushes and revenge killings to spark old hatreds and make any kind of national feeling impossible.
And, of course, none of this is happening in a bubble. You have all these powerful countries looking over the fence, and each one of them is playing their own game on this massive, complicated chessboard that is Syria.
Let's just quickly run through the big players. You've got Turkey, who's always worried about Kurdish power. You have Israel, who is obsessed with keeping Iran and Hezbollah off its border. The US is trying to juggle fighting terrorists and keeping the whole region from blowing up. Iran is trying to save its strategic land route to Lebanon. And Russia, well, Russia's just desperately trying to hang on to its military bases and whatever influence it has left. The point is, every single move on the ground is being watched and influenced by these outside powers.
So at the end of the day, what's really at stake here? It's not just about who gets to be in charge. It's about a much bigger, much harder question. Can a country that has been so completely broken actually be put back together again?
And the sheer scale of the challenge is just mind-boggling. I mean, just let this number sink in for a second. 9 out of 10 Syrians are living in poverty. That's 90% of the population. The economy isn't just bad, it's gone. So for any new government, the #1 priority isn't even politics. It's just helping people survive.
And that to-do list, it's monumental. How do you get the billions in aid you need to rebuild? How do you make the entire country safe again? And maybe the toughest one of all, how do you even begin to create an inclusive political system and get some kind of justice after so much brutality? These are massive, almost impossible questions.
And that really is the central question hanging over Syria today. You've got the state builders, the regional power brokers, the spoilers trying to wreck everything, and all this intense pressure from other countries. Can all these competing forces somehow find a path to build a new, stable order? Or is Syria just destined to fracture into different zones of influence, doomed to even more conflict? Honestly, the answer to that is going to define the Middle East for generations.